All right, guys, I've got a video here. If we tax rich people, they will leave. And this is by How Money Works, which is a really great channel. Really good stuff. And we're gonna watch this together, and I'm going to rant about how I think this is BS. And I'm gonna give you my reasons why. I'm not just gonna say this is complain, okay? I'm gonna give you the reasons why I believe that this is untrue and that this is just sort of spaghetti on that they hang on your ears. You know, in the Russian language, we say like you're hanging spaghetti on my ears, which means that you are BSing me. So let's give this a watch and see what we can add to this.
Effective taxation is being discussed, there is one counter-argument that comes up more often than any other.
Record number of millionaires are expected to relocate internationally this year.
800,000 New Yorkers are prepared to leave the city.
An estimated 16,500 very rich people will leave this country this year.
Why is that bad? Who cares? Raise your hand if you benefit from somebody rich, like they're giving you money, like here, have some money. Raise your hand. It's nobody. Nobody's getting anything from these people, okay? You may be employed by a company that is owned by a billionaire or whatever the title is. Rich people, right? You may be employed by companies owned by rich people, but guess what, bro? They can't fucking take their company. They can't airlift buildings to a different country. So the productive asset is what you call something that generates money, right? A thing that creates money is called a productive asset. It can't go anywhere. And what does that mean? That means that the rich people are tied to the productive asset, which cannot go anywhere in this case that I'm discussing. Okay, there's other cases. We're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, that's right. If we try to tax rich people, they are just going to leave, taking with them their money, their jobs, and their businesses.
Okay, we just talked about that partially.
Ironically, if all the rich people leave, then we won't even get the taxes they were paying, which means that by trying to increase revenue, we might actually end up shrinking it.
Okay, the thing about that is that, bro, the majority of tax revenue is already collected from regular working class people, okay? Am I doing the right mode? I wasn't doing the right mode. I'm sorry if you didn't get to see the beautiful video graphics. So, the thing about that is most people, like, most rich people already don't pay taxes. It's mostly the not rich people who pay all the taxes. It may not seem that like that. It maybe doesn't make sense straight away, but really it's true because most people aren't mega rich, okay? And there's more regular people, and that's why it works. Because you can just tax the masses. And you know what's great about that? Is that the masses don't have all these tools to avoid taxes, okay? So that's why it works again.
Capital flight or tax flight has become a massive focus around the world once again, particularly in the UK and now in the newly formed Socialist People's Republic of New York City, because they are at risk of losing the very individuals that shaped their economies into what they are today. Headlines have been flooded with high-profile people either leaving or threatening to leave these places and go somewhere more accommodating like Miami, Dubai, Singapore, or Switzerland. But the question is, would that actually be such a bad thing?
Can't decide whether to leave the state or the country.
Time to move on and leave the state of California.
Goodbye. Would you like a pat on the back or something while you're leaving? I'll wave you off. Who cares, bro? And the other thing, okay, the other case. So there are rich people who don't actually have like buildings or assets that can't be moved, right? Namely, like government bonds, stocks and shares, or some other kind of highly liquid investments, right? Well, guess what? there's no benefit for anybody else from that either. Like nobody benefits from it. So what does it matter if they go? It will mean nothing. It's I don't know if you can call it a non-productive asset. I'm not an economist, okay? I'm not an economist. So I can't tell you, but I do know that you don't get anything from rich people owning stocks. So what does it matter?
permanently, and we're going to go to Florida.
Making a big move. He's heading to Miami, or at least has been there for quite some time, and it comes with an added bonus. No state income tax.
Don, we're talking about Elon Musk moving from California to Texas.
I'm leaving.
Okay, Dan, that was always allowed.
There's a theoretical concept in economics about the relationship between tax rates and actual tax revenue. If tax rates are very low, then naturally tax revenue will also be low because not many people are willingly going to send a check to the government. As rates increase, so does revenue, but only up to a point. Eventually, if you raise taxes any higher, it will actually result in lower overall revenue, because business activity is disincentivized, or yes indeed, because people will move to somewhere else with lower taxes. Plotting out this relationship gives you what economists call the Laffer curve, named after Arthur Laffer, who popularized the idea during, well, you guessed it, the Reagan administration. Now, the idea itself is not inherently wrong, but it requires a lot of nuance, and without that, it's often used in really dumb ways to justify equally dumb fiscal policy. The first problem is mistaking exactly where on the graph most places exist. Pundits for lower taxes will say that we are on this side of the graph, which means that if only we lowered rates, it will stimulate more economic activity and actually result in higher total revenue, which can be used to fund government programs or pay down debt. It's a neat idea that you have probably heard a lot before, but it's not really backed up by most data. A 2017 study conducted on 27 OECD countries found that almost all of them were unsurprisingly on this side of the graph, where raising rates on top earners would simultaneously raise tax revenue.
See, this is what I don't like about economic graphs or projections, is that it's not really based in reality and you can sort of manipulate it to give you what you want. And all the time, it's like when you talk about ideology, right? This is an ideology thing. When you talk about ideology, you're wasting time when you could have been actually creating tangible solutions, okay? So you could actually be doing something, but instead you're talking about doing something and it may not even be like real. You know what I mean?
Out of all of the countries in the study, the biggest gap between the actual tax rate and revenue maximizing tax rate was in Mexico, Slovakia, and the United States. Now, the reason why this gap was so big was more than just simply the fact that we don't tax as much as most of our European counterparts, but we will get to that soon. For now, despite what you may have been told, the analysis overwhelmingly suggests that we are indeed on this side of the curve. Now, in the interest of fairness, the second mistake that people make by trying to read these lines is assuming that the one and only goal of tax policy is to milk the maximum possible amount of money out of people. The revenue maximizing tax rate and the optimum tax rate are not always the same thing. Lowering rates can be a good way to give average households a budgetary reprieve, or higher taxes can be used on vices to try to stem their use. But the biggest mistake of all is the assumption that most rich people choose their home by sorting low to high on a global tax database, and they are ready to jump ship the second the bill arrives. The reality is a lot more nuanced than that, to put it generously. The 2024 Global Wealth Report by UBS found that European countries with higher tax rates generally had a higher rate of wealth growth over the last 15 years, even after including high net worth immigration. Globally, the countries with the highest median wealth per capita all generally had very high and progressive rates of taxation on income and consumption. Closer to home, people have been threatening to leave places like New York for decades now. And yet, even after adjusting for inflation, their millionaire populations are higher than they have ever been before.
New Yorkers are going to flee. They're going to flee New York because of Zohrab Mamdani.
To my liberal friends who keep saying, well, tax rates don't matter, then why is it, Sean, that everybody is leaving New York?
Don't you see what's happening?
Isn't that schizo that the sort of media consensus, all you hear is like, they're gonna leave, everybody is gonna disappear, but they're actually like, there's more millionaires in New York now, like they're coming there. And really, I think it's about being on top of your messaging and public relations, okay? Because people who have wealth, they understand that you have to manage public relations. And this sort of, maybe I can tell you a story. So I was in the supermarket one day with my friend, and we were sort of walking around, and when I'm in the supermarket, I always say that everything's too expensive. And I was pointing to something and I was saying, bro, this could be like way cheaper. This could be like 10% cheaper. Like, I'm not going to buy this. It's too expensive. And he was like, you always say that. Why do you always complain? And I was like, what? Why wouldn't I complain? Like, why wouldn't I look out for my own interests? Why wouldn't I push back against these people? Like, it's always a push and pull. Like, if you're not pushing, then you're being pulled in the other direction. And wealthy people, they understand this, that they have to be advocating for their interests constantly. And so that's why this is a thing that you hear, that rich people are gonna leave. Oh no, so scared. Oh no. For real. But remember what I said. Most of the tax income comes from regular working people. Okay. The second thing is that if billionaires, millionaires, whoever, rich people, right, if they want to leave and they have productive assets, like they have businesses in the country, like yeah, they'll take some of the money, like they'll sell it, right? But the productive part is not going anywhere. So that business will keep producing for that place. Like it's not going anywhere. And the other part is like stocks and things that they own. If they go, it doesn't matter because you weren't going to benefit from that anyway. So what cares? The real problem is that they get so much money to begin with. Like, you know that the government, don't get me started about the government, but how it works, how the racket works, okay? In simple terms. You pay for the development of things, okay? Then some other guy, some rich guy, privatizes the thing that's been invented using your money, okay? And it sells it back to you for more money. And if shit goes wrong, then you pay for it as well. That, I believe, is called socialized losses and privatized gains. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. If you want to finish this video, this is a really great channel. If we tax rich people, they will leave. Oh no! Cue the hysteria, how money works. Thank you for watching. Subscribe.